Welcome to Chapter 4, Mishnah 10 of Mishna Sukkah, where we uncover the shocking truth of how a sneaky snake nearly destroyed and ruined the sacred ritual of the water pouring on Shabbos in the Beis Hamikdash, in the temple in Jerusalem, and the amazing solution that they came up with that saved the day. You're not going to want to miss out on this. I'm going to take you on a journey where we step back in time of the Beis Hamikdash, of the temple, where they did the water pouring not only during the week but also on the Shabbos, with some fascinating differences than what it was during the week. We're going to learn of what happens when this sneaky little snake could place its attack in the middle of the night and jeopardize the whole water pouring on the altar the following day, and the extraordinary measures they took to make sure that it doesn't happen. So just sit back, relax, and let's uncover the secrets of the holy water pouring in the Beis Hamikdash as we investigate the texts to learn how it was done. K'ma'aseh v'chol, like they would do during the week with the water pouring, koch ma'aseh v'Shabbos, so they would do on Shabbos as well. But there were some slight differences. Ella, but shehaya memale me'erev Shabbos, they would fill up on Erev Shabbos, on Friday, chavis shel zohar. They'd fill up this barrel of gold, a golden barrel, she'ena mekadeshes, that was not dedicated, wasn't sanctified for the use in the Beis Hamikdash. Why would they do that? We're going to find out in a minute, because usually all the vessels in the Beis Hamikdash, in the temple, are sanctified for use and dedicated for use in the temple. Why is this not? We'll find out soon. They'd fill up from a place, Mina Shiluach, from the Shiluach spring. This was a spring that was just outside Jerusalem. And they'd bring it to the Beis Hamikdash and they'd place it in a chamber, in a room in the Beis Hamikdash. And they'd use that for the following day. They'd do this on Erev Shabbos. They'd do it and store it to be used on Shabbos for the water pouring, because you can't carry on Shabbos from a public place into the Beis Hamikdash. Nishbecha or nisgalsa. Now, when they left it overnight, if some of it poured out, or if the container was somehow uncovered, they had an emergency measure, because they would fill up from the wash basin. Now, this wash basin was used by the Kohanim usually to wash their hands and feet in the service of the Beis Hamikdash. Now, the thing is, the wash basin was also consecrated, was dedicated for use of the Beis Hamikdash. So how could they use the water there? I'll explain in a minute. Because if you have any container, and if it was uncovered in the Beis Hamikdash and it was left overnight, it is invalidated to be used on the Mizbeach. And the reason for that is because of those sneaky snakes that we spoke about. Because a snake could have got in, sabotaged the liquid, and now the liquid is invalidated for use, either be it wine or be it the water. Okay, let's have a look at the Rav. Rabbeinu Ovadia Midbar Tanura. So we said that we would put this water that we would draw from the Shiluach into a vessel that is not dedicated for use in the Beis Hamikdash. Shaloi nischancha ba'avodas hamizbeach. It wasn't dedicated in the service of the altar. Why? Because if he would bring water into a vessel that was dedicated for use in the Beis Hamikdash, it would become invalidated by staying overnight. Shekli sharis mekadshin, because a vessel of service in the temple makes anything inside it holy. Kirichsiv, as it is written, Kol hanoger bahem yikdosh, anything that touches them, any item that touches a holy vessel in the temple becomes holy itself. V'chol hakodesh kedushas haguf, and anything that is sanctified with the sanctity of the body, meaning body of the item, is actually now holy. And what happens if you leave it overnight? Nifsal balina, it becomes invalidated by staying overnight in that holy vessel. So what was the remedy to take the water from the Shiluach spring and store it in the temple? We used an unconsecrated vessel, a vessel that was not dedicated for use in the temple, and that way, even though it stays in there overnight, it's fine. But again, we've got the problem with the sneaky snakes. What happens if they came in the middle of the night and either some water we could see was spilled out of the container because it was attacked by snakes, or it was uncovered? And the problem with those snakes are when they come in to attack the barrel, they drink some of the water, but they also leave some of their venom, their poison in the water. So the water's now no good. It's invalidated. So what will we do? They would fill up from the Kiyor, the wash basin that the Kohanim would use to wash their hands and feet from every day before they started serving in the temple. For Afal Pi, and you'll ask a question, but isn't the Kiyor also a holy dedicated vessel to the temple? So how could you use it? And even though the Kiyor was sanctified as a vessel of service in the temple, and it makes the water inside it holy, nevertheless, it wouldn't become invalidated by staying overnight. Why is it invalidated? Because they would let it down, they would lower it and sink it down underneath inside a pit in the evening time, so that way the waters of the pit become one with the water in the Kiyor. Therefore, it's like considered it's part of the water there, so it doesn't become invalidated. Kida Omar b'Yoma, as it's brought down in Yoma, Afhu asay muchani l'Kiyor. He would also make a mechanism for the Kiyor, for the wash basin, that its waters shouldn't become invalidated through staying overnight. Because they had this pulley over there that you can see, and that pulley was made out of wood. It was one of the first probably early mechanisms in the ancient times, and they would use it to lower it down into the pit, and then it becomes one with the water deep down in the pit of water underneath. And why is it that we have to go to such measures? Why are we so worried, as we said? Shamayim vayana megulin, because water or wine that was uncovered in the container in the Beis Hamikdash, haino tamid diniskala. That's the reason why now it was uncovered, and now we have to memala Kiyor. We have to fill up from the Kiyor, from the wash basin, because it was uncovered, and now the water is invalidated. And now you can't use that water that was uncovered or spilled, because water that was uncovered, the container was uncovered, is forbidden on the altar. You cannot use it. And then we said, according to the Tosefos Yom Tov, hamagulin psulin l'gabei mizbach. If any water becomes uncovered, or anything that becomes uncovered that was in a container overnight, is possible for the Mizbach. Maskinin b'Gemara, we conclude in the Gemara, Mishum, because of what it says in a pasuk in Malachi, Hakrivei or no, you come along and you want to offer something bad that's not good, go and offer it up lefechasecha, to your governor, to your boss. Hayiritzecha, would he desire you? Or would you find favor with your boss, with your governor, if you were offering something not good quality? Amar Hashem Tzvakos, says Hashem, the Lord of hosts. In other words, your boss is not going to be happy with you if you gave him something that was dirty or uncovered or sort of like second rate. So don't come to me with water that's been uncovered overnight and it's probably attacked by a snake. It's not appropriate. So therefore don't offer it. And that's why we had the plan B, the emergency measure of filling up the golden container from the wash basin that the Kohanim would use to wash their hands and feet. Okay, the first thing we learned was that just like the water pouring was done during the week, so it was done on Shabbos too, except there were some slight differences. Because of Shabbos, they would have to go to the Shiluach spring just outside Jerusalem and filled up this golden barrel, this barrel made out of gold with water, and they put it in a room and let it sit overnight in the Beis Hamikdash to be used on Shabbos. Because we couldn't go out on Shabbos to the Shiluach to carry, because you can't carry from a public place into the Beis Hamikdash on Shabbos. So they'd fill it up from the Shiluach spring and leave it there overnight. But the problem was, if we had a spillage of water, or if the container became uncovered, there was the problem with the snakes. The snake attack, and it could sabotage the whole water pouring for Shabbos. So what did they do? If they came the next morning and they saw that the container was uncovered, or there was water spilled because a snake got in the way and attacked it, and it probably put in some of its poison in the liquid, so it's not appropriate now to use that for the water pouring. So what do? They'd fill up from the Kiyor, the wash basin that the Kohanim would use to wash their hands and feet every morning. But then we had the problem, well, hang on, the Kiyor is also a consecrated vessel, and we learned that any vessel that's consecrated is posel belina. It's invalidated if it stays overnight in the vessel. So how could we leave water for water pouring in the Kiyor overnight? We explain that the water from the Kiyor was lowered down every evening into a pit down below full of water, and the water of the Kiyor of the wash basin would become one with the water of the pit, and therefore it wasn't invalidated the next day. And that was the extraordinary precaution they took because of those sneaky snakes, to ensure that the water pouring would go on. Just like we say, the show must go on, the water pouring went on